All right, today we're diving into a really fascinating piece of American history from 1859. Now that's just 2 years before the Civil War, a time when the country was pretty much being torn apart. But we're going to look at this incredible effort to build a network that actually stretched across the entire nation.
So let me start with a question for you. Think about it. It's 1859. You've got telegraphs and steamships, sure, but there's no internet, no social media. How in the world do you build a professional and social network across a huge, sprawling continent? What was the LinkedIn of 1859?
Well, the answer, or at least one really big answer for a very influential group, was this book, the Universal Masonic Record. You're looking at the title page right here, and it promises exactly what it says, a full-on directory with names, businesses, and where people lived for subscribers all across the country.
So what was this thing, really? It was this incredibly detailed directory, but it was exclusively for members of the Masonic fraternity. So you can think of it as a private, members-only database. It listed who you were, where you lived, what you did for a living, and even your specific local lodge. It was a real-deal social and professional network, just, bound in cloth.
And this right here shows you the reality of that big promise. You go from that grand title page to these pages, just packed with column after column of names, towns, and jobs. I mean, this was connecting thousands and thousands of people. It was a massive undertaking. Which brings up the big question. Why would you go to all this trouble?
And that gets us to the real mission behind this whole thing. Because this was never just a list of names. It was a project with a really deep purpose. The publisher had this surprisingly poetic vision for what a book like this could do, especially in such a divided America.
The publisher's name was Leon Heinemann, and he wrote in his preface that through this book, every Freemason will be linked in the golden chain of brotherhood. The whole goal was about connection, making sure that no matter how far apart members were physically, they could still feel like they were part of one big community.
And they weren't just thinking about the present. They were absolutely thinking about the future. The Grand Master of New York, a guy named John L. Lewis, he endorsed the project because he saw it as a vital piece of history. He said it would be a guide and textbook for future historians. They knew they were creating a record for the ages.
So at its heart, this whole thing was a tool for unity. You've got this rapidly expanding country. People are moving west. Cities are blowing up. And this book was meant to be the glue holding the fraternity together. But, a network is only as interesting as the people in it. So who exactly was part of this golden chain?
Okay, this is where it gets really cool. Because when you start digging into the names, you realize this book is more than just a list. It's an incredible snapshot of American society right on the brink of the Civil War. The variety of people, the jobs, the places, it's just astounding.
Just look at the sheer range on this one slide. You've got Benjamin B. French, a big-shot attorney right in Washington, D.C. Then you jump all the way across the continent and find Washington Scott, a miner in a California boomtown called Forest City. And it goes even further. All the way out in the Pacific, there's Lauren Andrews Jr., a clerk in Honolulu. This network was seriously global.
And the jobs listed inside tell this amazing story of a growing industrializing America. It's not just farmers and lawyers. You've got a soap and candle manufacturer, a foreman at an axe establishment, a locomotive and car spring manufacturer, a rope maker, a miller, a shipbuilder, and get this, even the foreman marble cutter who is working on the U.S. Capitol extension.
So this one book, this single network, was connecting two completely different worlds. On one side, you have the buttoned-up political center of Washington, D.C., full of officials and attorneys, and on the other, you've got the rough-and-tumbled boom towns of the California gold country, full of miners and merchants. And yet, there they are, listed right next to each other in the very same directory.
So how on earth did you build something this massive back in 1859? Well, the publisher didn't just print the book and cross his fingers. As you'll see, they had this surprisingly modern, almost entrepreneurial game plan to grow the whole project.
And they were not small. Not at all. The publisher announced that their goal for the very next edition was to add, get this, 40,000 additional names. That is an unbelievably ambitious goal for the 1850s. And here's their business model. It was pretty much a 19th century version of Kickstarter. You paid $1 up front to subscribe. Then you'd pay the last $2 when the book was about to go to the printer. And here's the kicker. It was exclusive. The book was only published for people who subscribed. That created a real sense of urgency and made people feel invested in it.
And they made this very direct, very emotional appeal to the community. They asked every brother to chip in and help complete the family circle. So it wasn't just about buying a book. It was framed as a duty to the whole fraternity, to make sure that not a single link should be left out.
So what's the legacy of this incredible project? Well, the guys who made it, they had a pretty clear idea of the value they wanted to leave behind. But as we're about to see, the record's importance today might be even greater than they ever dreamed of.
The preface makes this really heartfelt promise. It says that having your name printed in this book will be a legacy, one that will be treasured by your family and friends more than gold. They saw its value as something deeply personal, a permanent record of a good name for generations to come.
And you know what? They were absolutely right. Today, the Universal Masonic Record is a genealogical goldmine. It preserves the names, the jobs, and the locations of thousands of ordinary men, miners, clerks, mechanics, you name it, at this critical moment right before the Civil War. It gives us this precious window into their lives.
And all of this leaves us with a final thought. This book was basically a forgotten social network, just hiding in plain sight for over 160 years. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other forgotten networks are out there, sitting in an archive or maybe even an attic, just waiting to be rediscovered and to tell us their stories?